Klein kept his eyes on the plimsoll-lined horizon, the place where floors became ceilings and skyways became cellars. Above him, though, in Klein's mind there was no longer any above, merely whichever surface wasn't currently killing you. Rows of traffic hummed along the glass-bottom causeways, neat caravans of bicycles and skimmers gliding past storefronts that hung like stalactites. The morning reversal sirens had died out 5 minutes ago, and downtown Kyelo had right-sided itself. Gravity pointed neatly toward the old street level. Pedestrians who'd spent the night clipped to ceiling railings now unclamped, brushed off dust, and strolled as though nothing had happened. Klein pushed through the crowd, courier badge flashing gray and saffron. The dispatch office had told him the package was urgent and fragile in all orientation. Those words usually meant pharmaceuticals, maybe one of the designer's serums that kept trauma surgeons alert during the acrobatic nightmare of a reversal pileup. He didn't ask questions. A courier's curiosity got paid in funeral expenses. You clipped the parcel to your belt rack, planned your vector against the countdown clock, and trusted your gyro cables to hold until the world turned upside down again. A chime from his wristcom reminded him. 53 minutes until the noon reversal, which the Department of Celestial Mechanics promised would be the last one before evening. He picked up pace, weaving between tourists photographing chandelier gardens and hanging cafes. At the corner of Newton and Apogee, he caught a glimpse of something that always snagged his gaze: the duplex architecture of the Helix Spire. 2 identical lobbies faced one another across a vertical drop. Marble reception desks were perfectly mirrored, and the same receptionist twins staffed both levels. Today, gravity favored ground lobby, turquoise carpets resting against the true floor, while sky lobby hung overhead like a reflection waiting for the mirror to flip. The Spire would have been Klein's shortcut, but the parcel's delivery point lay farther north, in the older quarter where buildings hadn't yet adopted clean mirror symmetry. There, Corona bristled under the command of awesome torches, and further torches, of course. A tangled brick rodage of retrofitted cranes and anti-torsion struts supported streets that had begun life right side up, and later had to grow an upside-down doppelganger like an architectural Siamese twin. He skimmed his map and threaded into an alley radiant with ozone from overworked dampeners. A moment later, he was sprinting up the incline of an auxiliary ramp, the kind engineers had built for momentum skaters. And favor couriers? His boots' magnetic soles clacking softly. At 43 minutes until reversal, he entered the elevated tram garage. Outgoing trams shot away over the gap separating street tier from sky tier. Incoming ones refracted light through their glassy hulls. He flashed his pass, boarded a half-full car, and strapped into the ceiling harness so that when gravity switched, he'd already be standing on the new floor. Passengers shot him bemused looks. Most people waited until 5 minutes before flip to harness up, but Klein had cultivated a reputation for caution masquerading as superstition. His limbs had never yet been broken by a premature gravitational cough, and he aimed to keep that record. The tram whisked across the abyss, angling toward the older precinct known as Subastrum. Cheap apartments dangled there like barnacles, each with 2 front doors, one facing up and one down. The rent went up if both doors opened onto viable thoroughfares the entire week. Klein checked his courier slate. Recipient, Dr. Mara Quillian. Address, Underside 17B, Ellipse Row. He frowned. Underside addresses existed for one purpose. They were unreachable when gravity flowed its ordinary direction. You either timed your trip precisely during a scheduled reversal, or you had authority clearance to use the tether lifts that cut through the city's heart. He had neither, and according to the slate, his delivery deadline was 30 minutes 10 minutes after the next inversion. Input error? Possibly, but the dispatch office didn't make mistakes about time windows. Their algorithms swallowed astronomical telemetry, spit out optimal couriers, and wove itineraries tight as drumheads. Someone wanted this package delivered in the brief moment when underside was groundside. He pinged dispatch for confirmation. No response. He pinged again. Still nothing but soft static. He'd never known the lattice network to fail in central Kalo. The city's quantum routers were braided redundantly through both faces of the metro grid. Either there was localized sabotage, or dispatch had ghosted him on purpose. The tram eased into Sebastrum station. The conductor announced a 5-minute layover, apologizing for congestion on the anchor lines. Klein unclipped, hopped out, and jogged into the station's vaulted atrium. A countdown board glowed crimson, reverse 11 in 56 seconds. His brain rifled options. He could wait, ride gravity's somersault, and then sprint for Ellipse Row. But if the board was accurate, Ellipse Row hung 1.3 kilometers away across a warren of balconies and emergency catwalks. 10 minutes wouldn't be enough, especially after the tumble of flippilators jammed, crowds surged, and orientation nausea slowed even veterans. He needed a shorter route. He called up an archival schematic of pre-mirror Sebastrum. Before the city had learned to mutate, a lattice of service tunnels had run between drainage cisterns. Urban myth said some of those tunnels opened on both faces of streets now cut in half. If a courier could find one, he might slip through, ride the reversal in solitude, and pop out directly beneath his target. Problem: most schematics were paywalled. He throttled down a hacker friend's dead drop server, found an unverified blueprint, and scanned for candidates. One flickered red at him. Tunnel K9, located behind a defunct sky-level laundromat currently dangling above Platform 4. He vaulted railings, brushing aside a security drone that chirped at him in churlish binary. Sprinting along Platform 4, he spotted the laundromat's neon signage glowing upside down. A maintenance hatch, the latch stenciled with warning sealed, waited under a protruding washer drum. He knelt, unsheathed an OmniKey, and scanned the seal. Electronic wards answered with anemic bleeps. The lock was older than 7 consecutive building codes and surrendered like a tired guard. He ducked inside and sealed the hatch behind him. The tunnel exhaled a draft of metal rot. Low lights flickered in greasy rainbows. He activated helmet lamps and advanced. Somewhere overhead, the station's loudspeakers began their 1-minute klaxon, a rising, sinking howl that made every organ in his torso jitter. He centered breathing, clipped the parcel more securely against his chest plate, and crouched just as gravity lurched sideways. In that singular breath, the world ceased honoring the polite ritual of down, and the entire tunnel's contents, dust, a lost wrench, droplets of condensation, shot past him toward what had been the ceiling. Klein followed, carried by the inexorable tug of a flipped universe. He tried to angle his body so his magnetic boots met steel. Impact rattled teeth. Magnets gripped. He was now standing where a second earlier old scabs had drooped from the up. Alarms faded. Somewhere water pipes banged in protest. He checked his slate's inertial compass. Orientation stable. He'd survived another inversion. But his celebration ended when faint voices spiraled along the tunnel, coming from the direction of Ellipse Row. Protocol said service tunnels were cleared before flips. Yet someone was down here. People who knew how to dodge sensors or control them. Klein toggled visor zoom and edged forward. The tunnel curved, then flared into an unfinished chamber whose floor, yesterday's ceiling, was jagged concrete. Arc lights cast brassy pools. In one pool stood 3 figures wearing matte cloaks, the gray of unpolished steel. They circled a rectangular crate covered with a canvas. Klein slipped behind a slab and tuned his audio augment to directional pickup. "Easier after tomorrow's override," said a woman's voice. "The governor's parade guarantees high occupancy on the upper fate. The divergence algorithm will misreport residual flux, gives us an extra 2 minutes of reversed state." "2 is plenty," replied a second voice, deep, graveled. "We plant charges on the primary stabilizer pylons. By the time central control realizes gravity won't revert, we'll own the underside." "Then we negotiate." A third voice, young, jittery. "And the casualties topside?" A shrug he could not see but heard in the silence. "They built their world on ours," the woman answered. "Let them learn the cost." Klin's gut folded. Permanent reversal. That meant dropping half the city into free fall. Buildings engineered for mirrored equilibrium would shear. Skyro glass would shatter like sugar. Tens of thousands dead, maybe more. The conspirators planned to hijack the same gravity modulation arrays that kept Kalo's dual nature possible. Courier Credo drilled one rule: neutrality. Sides were for bystanders to choose. But this was Cataclysm, and the parcel on his belt suddenly felt colder. He eased a hand to its seal. No manufacturer's stamp, merely a Fibonacci spiral embossed in white. The same spiral glimmered now on the cloak's lapels. The package was their property. Dispatch had steered him straight toward accomplices in a plot, then cut comms so no audio log could trace back. He'd been cast as unwitting mule. He sank breath, braced, decided. He could ghost into the chamber, drop the crate and slink away, letting fate ride its arc. Or he could test which weight mattered more, a courier's oath, or the lives above and below. He reached for his Omni key again, but not for unlocking. He thumbed the emergency sabotage filament, a hairline of shape charge microbeads. With one flick he could blow the parcel and any secrets inside it. But maybe the package contained evidence that could expose them rather than empower them. Destroying it blind might backfire. He needed eyes inside. The spiral seal he saw was thermal reactive. PPC Mimtos, Epicytonus. He exhaled hot breath across it. The seal shimmered, receded, and a membrane folded open. Inside lay a gleaming polyhedron, surfaces etched with terrain relief maps, no, not terrain, but topology, density graphs of gravitic channels around the city. Microprojectors hummed, casting a rotating halo. On the underside of one facet, a blinking dot ID'd Subastrum's Tunnel K9. So the package was a navigation key, a device to interface with the gravity regulators, maybe rewriting them. Deliver it to Dr. Quillian, they'd gain root access. He snapped the case shut. Footsteps approached. The conspirators had finished their briefing. Klein flattened against rough wall. Chances of sneaking past dropped to nil. They'd crossed the choke point in seconds. He swallowed panic, scanned the ceiling for anchor valves. There, a dangling power conduit just within a leap's range. He disabled magnet boots, kicked off, and flung his body upward. Fingers snagged cable sheath. Pain lashed his shoulders, but he hauled himself flat against the steel girder, about 3 meters above ground. Hanging like a black lizard, he cut suit lights and slowed pulse. The conspirators filed through. Cloaks parted, revealing faces. The woman's sharp cheekbones, the graveled voice man with titanium jaw implants, the young jitter's acne glowing pink under arc lamps. As they passed underneath, Klein studied the crate they escorted, stenciled in white. QYL. Dr. Quillian's name truncated, so she wasn't receiving the device. She had built it. Perhaps she led them? Questions spiraled. When they disappeared down a side shaft, he dropped lightly, re-engaged boots, and hurried opposite direction. According to the map, the shaft fed into Ellipse Row, half a block from 17. Still his official destination. If he could reach Dr. Quillian first, he might force answers. He emerged onto underside 17B, which had become Nominal Street now during reversal. Buildings here were older, their mirror halves patched with corrugated plating. Yet laundry fluttered from balconies, vendors rolled carts of inverted noodles, and children skipped rope using street lamps as floor markers. Life persisted, whichever way the arrow pointed. Dr. Quillian's workshop occupied a wedge-shaped studio, door currently ground level. He rapped 3 times. No response. He tried handle unlocked. Inside the studio smelled like ozone and chalk. Work tables overflowed with gyroscopes, crystals, and tide charts. Holograms mapped gravity in sobering reds. At one table sat a tall woman, hair cropped silver, eyes sunken with nights of lost sleep. She looked neither surprised nor hostile. "You're early," she said, voice identical to the one in the tunnel. Klein kept his hand loose near a stun baton. "Courier for Dr. Mara Quillian." "I know who you are," Klein ruined. She tapped a screen. His courier profile flickered. "The system flagged your tendency to improvise. Dispatch thought that might be useful." He considered lunging, but paused. Useful to whom? "To everyone who still wants 2 faces of Kalo. So you're not with the Cloak Brigade." Her laugh was fleeting. "They once were my students. Brilliant, impatient. They call themselves the Zenith Front. They think salvation lies in purging what hangs above us. And the device? He set the parcel on the table, but kept palm atop it. A decoy, she said, harmless, but they wouldn't believe me without an escort. I arranged for dispatch to send a courier, banking on Zenith tapping comms. They'd verify a real delivery and pounce. Meanwhile, my actual control key is safe elsewhere. Klein frowned. They already have this one. I overheard them. Her eyebrow arched. Did you hand it over? No. Good. She plucked goggles from bench. Then we still have a chance. Sirens bloomed again. The 15-minute warning for the next flip. Klein's heart jolted. He'd lost track of time. They intend to sabotage the stabilizer pylons during inversion, he said. Permanent reversal. I expected sooner or later they would. They can't access the pylons without two keys. The physical route codes, which the decoy mimics, and the quantum token encoded in my biometric signature. She gestured to herself. Unless they possess me alive, they can't execute plan. Klein's admiration mingled with unease. So what's next? Quillian toggled a wall screen showing the city's cross-section like a split geode. Lines traced from their location to the central gravitic core above. They'd need to ascend when gravity righted itself. We go topside, expose Zenith. My students think in elegant math, but they forget politics. Broadcast proof of their plot, citizens will turn on them. Movement clattered outside, bootsteps on metal. Xena Front had tracked him. Quillian tossed him a sling line. Side exit, follow me. They bolted through a service hatch into narrow ductwork. Behind them, door panels hissed apart, shouts echoed. The ducts bucked as gravity's countdown hit 5 seconds. Quillian anchored the sling line to a beam overhead, today's floor, and snapped her harness. Klein mirrored her. The world convulsed. Down became up. Bodies flailed in adjoining corridors. Unsecured debris rained past like lethal hail. But their sling line held, and when orientation settled, they dangled a meter from the now floor. They released, sprinted upward along a makeshift stairwell leading to a sky bridge no longer implicating direction so much as architecture. Quillian keyed comms on her wrist. Control, this is Dr. Quillen. Authorize override channel Delta 9. I'm transmitting clandestine op intel. Fuzzy Static replied. Clean injected his courier credentials, piggybacking on the emergency frequency. Words cleared. Copy Delta 9, biometric confirmation required. She pressed thumb to sensor. Data streamed. Behind them, Zenith agents gained ground. The titanium jawman broke forward, hurling a concussion disc. Klein shoved Quillian aside. The disc hit railing and detonated, blowing a toothy crescent out of the bridge. Wind howled through the gap, sucking loose pages from Quillian's satchel. Klein grabbed a beam, boots screaming as magnets fought angled force. Zenith leaders stepped through dust cloud. Give us the doctor, she ordered. Spare yourselves the fall. Quillian wiped grit off her cheek. Without me, you can't finalize the override. And by now, Control has your voices and plan. Then we pivot, the leader said, drawing a sidearm. One bargaining chip still matters, the city's faith. They won't trust Control if they see you executed by their own protectors. Klein realized she intended to broadcast a staged execution. The sidearm's barrel bore a camera module. He reached for his baton but judged the range too open. Instead, he yanked the decoy device from his pouch and thumbed the activation stub until it glowed bright sapphire. Every Zenith eye locked to it. He yelled, Real key on stable core. Shoot and you lose it. Kill me and it shatters. He dangled it over the gap where city yawed into clouds. The Zenith leader hesitated. Klein's pulse hammered. If the decoy were truly harmless, losing it cost nothing. But they didn't know that. They couldn't risk mission failure. He saw calculus churn behind their eyes. Quillian caught his glance, understood. She edged toward a manual override lever on the bridge painted hazard yellow. It controlled emergency containment doors that could seal segments during hull breaches. She rested a finger atop it. The leader barked. Hand it over. Klein smiled through terror. Trade, you retreat, she and I walk away. You get the key later. Stall tactics, growled Titanium Jaw. Quillian flipped the lever. Steel barricades roared down between them and Zenith. The barrier slammed shut, isolating Klin and Quillian on one half of the bridge. Zenith hammered fists against metal. Quillian exhaled. Nice improvising. But they'll cut through eventually, he said. Control is dispatching security drones, she replied. We need only hold until sirens braid anew. Emergency reversal anomaly detected. Klein's blood turned to vapor. He looked at Quillian. They triggered something, and they can scramble local stabilizers, she said, eyes wide. If we stay here, we can flip again in seconds. Bridge struts began to groan. Barriers designed for one gravity direction felt stress invert repeatedly. Tolerances bayoneted. Nearest safe zone? He asked. Maintenance orb above the core shaft, she answered. Klein swung his grapple around a pipe overhead. Then we climb. They ascended, magnets clicking with each meter. Below, the barrier's seam brightened as plasma cutters bit through. Lights flickered city-wide. Locomotive ferocity shook floors as microflips rippled localized reversals. Zenith were trying to create chaos, maybe forcing Control to abort all gravity modulation, which would freeze state permanently. But Control resisted, strobing gravity back and forth faster than Zenith could lock circuits. The maintenance orb door irised open as they approached. A security drone hovered, bleeding codes. Quillian provided override. They scrambled inside, doors sealed. Inside the orb, smooth sphere walls were fitted with cushioned webs. In the center floated the gravity core, a thrumming crystal obelisk suspended by magnet rings. Its surfaces curved space around themselves. Looking at it felt like staring at a river of invisible fish. Control's voice emanated from speakers. Dr. Quillian, patch received. Zenith forces contained in sectors 7 through 9. City stability at 63% and improving. Your safety priority. Quillian nodded toward Klein. And my courier? He risked everything. Courier Roan, the voice said, your actions are logged heroic. Charges against you for entering restricted tunnels are null. Klein laughed, a ragged edge. He realized his palms trembled. The crisis's crescendo ebbed. Gravity steadied. Quillian placed her hand on the decoy, still glowing faintly. We should dispose of this before someone else thinks it's real. She handed it to the drone, which zipped off to decontamination. Silence settled, broken only by the hum of the core. She turned to him. Do you know why gravity reversals were legalized instead of cured? He shrugged. Cheaper to adapt than fix? Partly, but also because cities like Kalo discovered beauty in duality. 2 street levels, 2 suns rising depending on your window orientation, 2 chances each day to choose how you walk through life. She smiled, but sadness leaked through. My students forgot the necessity of the other side. Klin gazed at the crystal river, felt its choral resonance. I used to dream we'd fix gravity, he admitted. I'd never have to strap cables or barter my bones to physics, but after today, I think I'd miss the switch. He smirked. It's good for business anyway. Quillian's laugh returned, honest this time. She offered a hand. Courier Rowan, would you consider consulting for the Department of Celestial Mechanics? Someone who knows how to improvise while dangling between floors has a skill set we value. He shook her hand. On one condition, I still take runs. A courier shouldn't retire. Besides, now I know all the best shortcuts. In the distance, klaxons stilled. The orb's hatch unfolded, revealing a city reweaving itself. Cranes sliding, cables winding, people on both faces waving up-down at each other as though neighbors across a courtyard. Somewhere, shafts still smoked where Zenith had cut too deep, but emergency teams flurried, bridging wounds. Life resumed its gymnastics. Klein clipped his courier sash back on, adjusted the strap. So, Dr. Quillian, where to next? She glanced from one face of Kayla to the other, horizons perpendicular, edifices blooming like mirrored orchids. Everywhere, she said, stepping onto the exit ramp that now pointed, not up, not down, only forward.